Good morning, everybody. So this was a kind of a last minute change. We have some other constraints, so we had to leave. So anyway, just want to leave some thoughts with you. I don't have any presentation. It was supposed to be a panel discussion, but keeping those on the topics on basically the ethics that we'll be discussing in the panel next, I would like to just leave you with a couple of thoughts. Uh, Look, the banking industry, in fact, all the industries in India are mostly vendor driven. Okay. So what happens is that people from a various departments or verticals, they are interacting with different vendors and their business requirements are different. So things are happening in silos, not only for a large organization, but in other organizations also. The most interesting piece is that departments are working silos within silos. So for any large organization, if you have more than 10,000 people, so you can understand the complexity and the mechanism which goes behind all these processes. Now, from a banking industry perspective, I represent the banking industry, BFSI. So we are seeing that we have a lot of vendors who are coming in, partnering with the banks. So the banks or the organization should be careful of what they're sharing with the vendors, because what you see is that all the information of a bank is available in the market, which is not good, right? Your confidential information, although they sign NDA, the confidential information pertains to your particular organization should not be shared directly with the vendors, large vendors. For example, there are 4 or 5 vendors and you select only one. But what happens at the end of the day, that your information is out. So that needs to be controlled. From a second piece is that from an enterprise architecture, I don't know, many of you would not be understanding the concept, the overarching architecture of a particular bank. So banks going forward would be tech companies with banking license, right? So that's how it is, and also RBI is also focusing very heavily on that. We are seeing a lot of push from RBI in terms of automation, in terms of digitization of all the processes. The reporting itself, they have got something known as the ADF, right? Automatic data feeds, which going into the system. Then they have the SIMs. Then they have put up a new portal, Daksh, and all of that. So a lot of things are happening from the government also perspective, so that the data goes in. Now, in most of the cases, how the data is shared is also a concern. Although we have data security and all of that, but what happens at the end of the day when we are sharing it with the regulators also, it is going on a hard disk or a USB. That's not desirable, right? So all, at least the banking sectors and maybe the regulator also, they should look into this. There should be a secure file transfer kind of an uh, approach where the data can be shared securely with them, confidentially with them, and there is no leakage. So that is something that we have to be careful about. We'll be sensitizing the regulators also. We have been telling them as well. So those are the certain things that I wanted to highlight. From an organization, I'm sure that this will be recorded and maybe people can look at this later on. So these are some of the key things that from a industry perspective, we have to look into. Further, like Padmoshan also mentioned, more and more things would be happening on the digital front. Digitization is going to be the key thing going forward. So, and you'll see there's a change where when the IT or the technology will be leading the business. So it's been happening other way around, right? So the business has been leading the technology, that we want this thing, then the technology department comes into play and then brings in a particular product or solution. But going forward, we'll see that flip where the technology will be driving the business, and then the everything, the ROI, the bottom line, in fact, will be determined by the IT solutions or the IT services that a particular bank or a particular organization provides. You'll see that you're happening in the manufacturing also. You see a lot of automation happening with the 5G coming in. Although there's a dispute in 5G whether they should give a license to the full-fledged operator or to a subsidiary operator, where they can use the 5G for a very, because what happens in 5G is that the distance, as the frequency increases, the distance of travel also decreases. So it's inversely proportional. So the increase of frequency is going on a higher frequencies, the travel, the time, the distance also decreases. So it's only for limited kind of connectivity that you see. Banking fortunately, it's not much dependent on IoT except your mobile devices. Your mobile devices are also IoT devices, if you are aware of that, because those are also IoT devices. Um, in terms of governance, uh, in terms of security, that is also something of a paramount importance now. As you see, number of people, state actors, and other people are also getting into this game. You have during this COVID times, you had this ransomware as a service coming up, or now even hacking as a service, right? So these are things which are coming up. It's openly available. Anybody can avail these services. So this is something we have to be very careful about, because for a defense or from a protection point of view, there are only few or like limited resources that you have from protection perspective. But from an attacking perspective, the time and effort is infinite from there for their side, right? So you have state actors, you have individual actors who are getting into this, and this will only increase going forward, right? But again, there are mechanisms and techniques by which you can reduce. One is that if you concentrate on some of the secure operating systems, that would reduce your threat landscape immediately, right? So some of those things, I don't want to name any particular vendor here, but there are certain vendors in which it is very vulnerable, and there are patches coming out in every week. There are patches coming out. You have to patch the antivirus, you have to patch the operating system itself, and then you have compliances to follow thereafter. So if you have a stable operating system which is secure, which is designed to your particular uh, requirement, it makes life easier, right? So those are a couple of things that I wanted to leave the thought on the table, and then maybe if there's anything, you can reach out to me. My email address is available, and I'm reachable, right? Thank you.